success stories told by the people who live them.
We're going to have some guests on this show that everybody knows, and we're going to have guests on this show that nobody knows yet.
One by one, Nick Hyder is adding hits to the hit streak.
Blessings, folks. Welcome back to another episode of the Hit Streak. I'm your man, Nick Hyder, and check it out. We've had an amazing run of amazing guests turning out amazing episodes because of their amazing stories. Some of those guests you already knew before you saw the episodes, and some of them you knew after. But today, I've got the most unique story that we have told on the Hit Streak so far. This gentleman has rose in notability quite quickly in less than a year. He's joining me all the way from Klamath Falls, Oregon. You guys would know him as the Oregon Dad who said, "Let's go, Brandon," to President Joe Biden last Christmas Eve. Folks, please help me in welcoming Jared Schmeck. Jared, thanks for hanging with me today, brother. How's it going?
Doing good, man. I really appreciate you having me on the program. Definitely a unique story. It's been a life-changing experience, to say the least. Absolutely.
So, well, first of all, you're a keynote speaker, and we got a lot to talk about, from the call to life before and after that call. True or false? I don't think it was a planned thing, right? Is that how did that actually walk me through the story of what happened? Let's just give them what they want.
It was not pre-planned, outside of the fact that my sons and I call Norad every Christmas Eve, which if you don't know what that is, the Air Force Base, or I think it's a Space Force Base now in Colorado, volunteers will take phone calls from families and from kids, and they will tell your children when Santa Claus is going to be coming to your area, and then they can track it on their iPads or the iPhone or computer. And so that's all we were doing this Christmas Eve, just like normal. And the volunteer told us that Jill Biden was taking phone calls and asked if we wanted to speak to her.
That's pretty cool.
And so I figured, why not? Let's kind of assuming it was not going to be a real phone call, maybe like an automated Christmas message or something. And we waited on hold for about 10 minutes, and I started thinking, man, we've been on hold for a little bit now. This might be real. So I look over to my son Griffin and have him grab his iPad and film it, thinking, hey, if this is real, this could make a good home video. And at that point, I'm not knowing what I'm going to say or anything like that. But I was definitely starting to think. Another 5 minutes passed, and it wasn't just Jill, but Joe Biden was with her. So, and it's the conversation just carried on from there.
Well, it's first of all, this is folks, this is such a unique story, and it's a sensitive subject sometimes because of all the finger pointing and two-sidedness that comes with politics today. This is not what this is about. This is a very unique and quite frankly, what I know of him, an amazing dude that has a story that it's very interesting and very neat. So and it's cool one of my dreams is to meet a president of the United States. I've never done that before, and that's something that I've always wanted to do. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. Obviously I have views and opinions on who I vote for, but once the people are elected, I need them to do a good job, right? I need them to do a good job, because when they don't, it affects all of us, right, in a bad way. So we never want anybody to do anything bad, right? So I don't think that there was a lot of folks really got upset about this.
Yeah, which shouldn't be surprising, but I was a little surprised at first. We had a cordial conversation. We absolutely did. It's pretty obvious where I stand politically, but you're right. At the end of the day, we want the people in power to do a good job. We want this country to succeed. We want our families to succeed. And, this is America. So coming together and for that effort of making America great is is key. I mean, it's imperative, and that's really what this is all about. So, I didn't want to do anything over the top. I'm not a person that swears at people or anything like that. But the opportunity presented itself, and the whole time I'm thinking, what am I going to say? Because I am frustrated with what's going on in our country, and like a lot of people. And we know where the Let's Go Brandon terminology began there on the racetrack, and it's grown since that day to really encompass all of the frustrations that millions of Americans have with what's going on in our country. And it's not just directed at Joe Biden, but I am a bit of a prankster, and I thought it would be funny, and I do think it was funny. I did not know he responded the way he did, which really made it gold. I mean, that's what, and that's why I think people were mad too, because of how he responded.
Whether it was on purpose or not, it was kind of like, it was pretty quick-witted, right? You know what I mean? Like it was like it's. He responded in the way that you probably meant for it to be taken, right? It wasn't meant in ill will in any way, right? It's fun,
well,
funny's funny.
I mean, yeah, funny's funny. I don't think Jill thought it was very funny, but just judging by the look on her face. But they hung up on me right after I said it, so I didn't know this was a live streamed event. Nothing. I was on the phone and I said what I said. And it was 10 minutes later when my wife was on. I wasn't even on social media before this, so I mean, this has really been a life-changing experience. But my wife's on her phone, and I think it was Breitbart. Breitbart posted the phone call from from the set that they were on, and at that point, I knew this was going to be a big deal. And yeah, sure enough, within 24 hours. We were, like you said, it rubbed people the wrong way. I mean, we were getting a lot of threats, a lot of doxing, people posting my address online, threatening to kill my wife, threatening to kill my kids, threatening to burn my house down, and just over the top. The media jumped on it as well, and ran stories that, frankly, were smear stories. A lot of the larger media that were running stories on me didn't even try to talk to me. And it should be expected. This is the tactic that is always used in a case like this, in a polarizing situation like this one. So, I mean, frankly, it was kind of scary at first.
Okay.
We do see this, day in and day out, but it was kind of scary. That Christmas night, so 24 hours after the phone call and some change, we were getting calls nonstop. And my son, Griffin, he's our oldest of four. He told me he wished I hadn't said it at that point, and, in tears and scared for what was going to happen. And that's when I sat back. I'm like, this is, so I guess to step back a little bit, I'm a father of four, married to my beautiful wife, Amanda, for 14 years now. Time flies. And our youngest is 2 and our oldest just turned 12. I am first and foremost a Christian. I'm a follower of Jesus Christ. And I do believe that things happen for a reason.
That's right.
And when my son said that to me, it kind of opened my eyes I got out of that tunnel vision of this little phone call. And we, as a family, sat down and prayed about what to do. We are business owners in Klamath Falls here. We were concerned for the livelihood of our team. Our business was being attacked as well. Our website hacked, phone calls, hate mail, you name it, they were doing it. And so we were concerned about that. And while we are in a conservative area, still we're concerned. And so we prayed as a family, not just my immediate family, but my parents, my wife's parents, and everyone. And we all came to the realization that we couldn't just step back and be shut down by the reaction that we were receiving. and that we needed to stand up. And so I told my son, our rights and our freedoms are not privileges given to us by our government or by any person. They're God-given rights at birth, and no one can take that from us. And so, at that point, I stepped up, and as a family, we stepped up, and as a company, we stood up together. Since then, the negativity has just been washed away by this outpouring of love, patriots across this country, people who just love freedom. It's really not left or right. And that's what opened my eyes to this. We get so bent on one side or the other. We're all Americans.
Yep.
And we should all want America to succeed. And frankly, our country's lost its way. It's lost its focus on God. And until God is brought back to the center, we're going to flounder. And so I've taken this opportunity to try and encourage people, and not just politically, but more so on a spiritual level, because I'm a firm believer that we're in a spiritual battle right now. And patriots in this nation have given me the opportunity to step up and speak on stage, to speak to people, folks like you that are giving me a voice. And that's really what this is all about. People need encouragement right now. And it's hard. It's definitely hard.
So you mentioned who you were prior to all this, right? So husband of 14 years, father of 4. You're a former police officer.
Yes, sir.
Serving for the Medford Police Department in Southern Oregon, and a business owner now, right? So tell us about the business.
Yeah. So we are electrical contractors here in Southern Oregon. We're an IBW contractor. And our team is, the phone's actually ringing right now. Our team is built up of, we're really tight knit. We're like a family. Klamath Falls is a pretty small town. And most people have been here for a long time. I started with a lot of them, actually. I went through the apprenticeship program before jumping into law enforcement. And, we do all types of work, but that's really not what we're about. That's what we do. But we run our business through the lens of our biblical principles and values, and that's what we try to spread into our community. And we become a very key part of our local community. We're going on just under 50 years, I believe. Just under 50 years in the basin here. So it's been in the family for a long time, and it comes down to leading by example, leading through those biblical principles and values that as Christians we really all should be doing more now than ever. So
you mentioned something that a lot of times some folks might not say that this word would apply to you, and you've mentioned the word opportunity a lot, and that's how many times has our country been called the land of opportunity? And opportunities comes in all different shapes and sizes. They come in unanswered prayers. They come on the other side of failures a lot of times. From the lessons that you learn and everything else. An opportunity at the end of the day is really if you're an athlete, you're just looking for the opportunity to maybe try out for the team. And then once you're on the team, you're just looking for an opportunity to get out there and show what you can do, right? As a person in the workforce, you're just looking for an opportunity to get the career or the job that you want, or the opportunity to start the business or whatever it may be. Opportunity is a very, very important word that we use a lot around here, because everything is an opportunity for something. If you look at it that way, right? So, but with those opportunities, they do come a great responsibility on how you act with those, right? So, and I think you can put a positive spin on just about everything. There's good in everything that can happen. Just like there's something bad that you could find in everything that happens, right? Relationships, everything that you can think of. And you also mentioned something else that I bet your business is good, and I don't even know a lot about it because you keep mentioning guiding principles. And a very wise man once taught me that every decision that got made for any change or growth in this is a large company, it had to check out on the 5 guiding principles that they had established. And if it didn't check out on those guiding principles, they didn't bring the idea to the table, right? It made sense and it kept everything in line. So the basis of which you're basically running your life, living your life, and everything is freaking solid, man. So you got a lot in common with a lot of great businesses and a lot of great people. That's really cool. You know what I mean? That's really cool. So how long has the business been alive, and what made you get out of law enforcement?
So I don't quote me on the time, but I think we're just under 50 years, maybe just over. I can't remember if we're hitting 50 years, and I should know that.
That's incredible. That's incredible. Just to keep the doors open for 50 years.
Yeah, it's been a long time, and it is a challenge. There, like you said, there are always opportunities. Some opportunities cost more than others. I mean, in terms of time, effort, or financial as well. Yeah, I mean, we're very blessed to have such a solid standing here, in my hometown, and yeah, it's incredible. And I got out of law enforcement in 2018 for a variety of reasons. So I started in 2012. Absolutely loved the job. I was on patrol after going through the field training. Became a field training officer, or they call them PTOs now, and a drug recognition expert. DUIs kind of became a passion of mine because they affect so many people. I mean, that's a crime that affects every class of individual. Yeah. So trying to help people that are struggling, maybe with alcohol or drug addiction, whether it's just a conversation. I mean, it's amazing the conversations that you can have with these people when you're waiting for the breathalyzer and whatnot. Okay. But also just proactively going after these to keep our streets safe really became a passion of mine. So I got into the drug recognition expert side of things, which is basically if you have a DUI arrest that's not alcohol related, then you call a drug recognition expert come in. They come in and they do a variety of tests to include the standardized field sobriety tests as well. And then you form an opinion based on your findings of what you believe is causing the impairment, whether it's substance related or medical, or maybe they're just not impaired. And so I had a lot of passion for that, but I got out of it, like I said, for a variety of reasons stemming from political situation in our state is not great. It's become very difficult to do the job. Hands are tied in a lot of ways. And I can tell you the morale's not great. I really feel for everyone and respect everyone that is serving in law enforcement, because it's already a difficult job as it is, but when you compound everything else on top of it, it really is, it can be crippling. And, I was looking elsewhere for employment, and my parents actually approached me with the opportunity to get back into the family business on a management level from the project management side. And I felt that I could take a lot of what I learned at the police department to better our company. And so, my wife and I prayed about it quite a bit because frankly, I missed the job a lot. It was a lot more fun than this. This is definitely better for our family and just where I felt led by the Lord at the end of the day. So that's why we made the decision.
Gotcha. Well, we say it a lot around here that beginnings hide themselves in ends. You know what I mean? So there is not a beginning without the end of something, I guess, right? So,
right.
So it's a family business. Right,
yes,
family business, about to be 50 years old. My dad has a nonprofit that is a year or two away from turning 25. And being a business owner myself, I'm like, dude, if you just keep the lights on, even if you don't take it, make a profit, make millions of dollars, if you just keep it open for 20, 25 years, that's quite the achievement. and so that means you're doing a lot of things right, and all that kind of stuff. So, all right. Walk me through. You talked to me a little bit about the following days after last Christmas. So you were talk to me like, how has this affected the business? How has this affected the business in the positive way? I like the good news, man. I like the good news. So what have you been able to do with the opportunity and the outlet that this created? You weren't even on social media. I looked at your Instagram. You got over 20,000 followers on Instagram now. That's legitimate, dude. That's and it's only growing from there. So talk to me about how the good news that's come from this for your business.
Yeah. So business-wise, we've received an overwhelming amount of support, which may have something to do with the demographics of where we live. For sure, we are in Southern Oregon, which is far more conservative than the northern part of the state. But I don't think that's the only thing. I think people respect the fact that we stood up. Our team is a diverse team of variety of political and religious beliefs. And everyone stood with me on this because they could see what was happening firsthand. And this attack on my freedom to just say what I want. And our First Amendment is, we lose that, we lose everything, right? So it's respected by a lot of people, and so our business has done well because of it. We've received work that we were told that they heard of us because of this phone call, or they respected us because of the phone call. And it's not so much the phone call; it's what we did after the phone call.
Okay,
that really seems to resonate, and that's where your staying power is in this, because this is bigger than a phone call. This is bigger than who's in the White House right now. This is bigger than our country. I'm telling you, man, spiritual battle. And I think people's eyes are opening up to what's going on. So yeah, as far as business goes, it's been fantastic. We actually didn't, outside of those initial direct attacks on us from people from who knows where, we haven't had any decline in business. It's only been an increase in business.
That's right.
Since Christmas.
And it's you can disagree with somebody without hatred. So there's, I don't know. It's just raising kids. As an athlete, you get really competitive, but I learned a long time ago, no matter how much you didn't like somebody on the opposing team, that was just, they clocked out after the game was over, and then they were just a person after that, right? So, and a lot of times, some of the folks that, some of the guys that I played against that I cared for the least on the field, later on in life, after I got to know them, they were actually awesome dudes that had a lot in common with, and now we're close. So it's, there's, I don't know, man, there's life's too short for to send out a lot of hate, and it just, what feels good to me is making somebody else feel good, raising somebody up. Here we believe in giving hand ups, not handouts. And, all right. So, business has been good afterwards.
Yes, sir.
Talk to me about how the family dynamic. So you mentioned your kids and your wife. I'm sure your parents probably like, how'd they feel about it? And then I got to hear about your in-laws, because as a daddy of a daughter, like I might ask, like, are you comfortable? Like, are you proud of what you brought into the house?
Mm-hmm. So my parents are very proud. I think my mother was maybe a little bit worried about the business, and our family. But I mean, we'll just say I can fully defend my household. But they're concerned for the business, and that went away pretty quick, though. I mean, like I said, we prayed as a family. We prayed about this, and we talked to our whole team, and very quickly made the decision that we were going to handle this the way we have handled it. And I firmly believe that what led us that direction was the Lord. I mean, that's our we're not going to back down. And so they've been fully supportive. My in-laws, same thing, actually. Same thing. High fives. So
Wow.
it was, but again, I mean, everyone thought the phone call was funny. It's the handling of it of after the phone call that has resonated with everyone, and even folks in my family who did not fully agree, even if they agree with me on that the political front, didn't agree with the phone call and what I said. They have seen the way I've handled this, the way I've handled myself in the speaking engagements, and some of them have been, I mean, like I spoke at a Kerry Lake rally in Arizona, and that was amazing. And honestly, the best one was here in Oregon, where generally we feel oppressed by what's going on in Salem and Portland right now. And I spoke up in Salem, impromptu, it wasn't planned, with the Reawaken America tour, which again, their focus is on God first and foremost, and exposing truth. And that's what this comes down to: truth and God, family, country, and the truth is always the truth. It never changes, and it's easy to lose sight of that in this muddled world. And like you said, you get these people that we're so against each other. It's like, why? Like we all live in the same country. We don't have to agree on everything. Our founding fathers didn't agree on everything.
That's right. Abraham Lincoln says a divided house will not stand,
Exactly. So, we've got to get back to that. The only way to get back to that is putting God first, and truth first. But yeah, I mean, the handling of all of this has really my entire family on both sides just being proud of how this has ended up.
It brought you closer.
Yes, it really has.
That's great.
And friends too.
That's great. So, and look, it wasn't something where you were seeking. You were like, man, I'm gonna call this dude and embarrass him and get a whole bunch of attention from it and take all that stuff and run, right? So, it was probably and of all times to get surprised with all that right around the holidays, with all the madness that goes along and the happy times of everything else. So honestly, dude, I can't imagine. There's having a platform like this and the amount of content that we put out on a daily basis and the amount of people that it reaches. We get some great feedback about the help and the kind words and people appreciating us taking the time to do what we do and everything else. But at the same time, man, there's some of the stuff that people say at me is brutal, dude. Like they don't even know it. And most of the time it's out of context too. They take a 60-second clip from an hour and a half podcast or something and they have this whole blown argument. And my usual response is, hey dude, like, to each his own, but like check out the whole episode and tell me what you think. That's why we do those little 60-second clips and sound bites and everything else, is to help drive people to the episodes, because the episodes are phenomenal, just like this one's turning out to be right now. And there's some amazing stories, and again, there's a whole lot of there's too much bad news out there in my opinion. I like the good news, and people like you, the success stories, and people that have taken opportunities and ran with them. There's folks that families wouldn't have been as strong as yours, that might have crumbled in a situation like that. And again, there was a freaking family business that all this stuff affected, and employees. And I think that was so great that you mentioned that you wanted to meet with the team, because all of a sudden you realized, holy crap, I've affected all these other folks in what could be a negative way, right? That comes with a lot of responsibility. Talk to me a little bit about that. Yeah,
I mean that. Like this was not for the attention or anything, like you said. This was totally spur of the moment, and it's just how I am. If I have an opportunity to say something, all my friends and family would say the same thing. None of them were surprised that I did it once they heard it happen. But I wasn't thinking about the business at the time of the phone call, for sure. Maybe I would have been if I would have known this was a live streamed phone call, but I didn't. And so
I think that's important to know, that you didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't know that. No one told me that. I assumed it was probably recorded, since you're talking to who you're talking to. But yeah, I did not know it was a live streaming event. So all of that was a surprise. And when we saw the post is when it kind of hit me like, okay, we're gonna get some kind of flack from the media. We're gonna get maybe some phone calls, and I was concerned for the business pretty much right after that. And then when the calls started coming in, it came in a volume that I did not expect.
What kind of
overwhelming?
Like what kind?
As soon as my phone was done ringing, it was ringing again. And then it wasn't just me, my wife, my in-laws, my parents, my cousins, everyone was getting phone calls.
Wow.
And then the mail starts showing up. And, I'm figuring this media story will go away. I mean, it's a big story at Christmas. Okay. And then it'll be gone by Monday. And it just kept going. And
I remember it. I remember it. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why I've taken the opportunity to do interviews and whatnot to get our side of things out there and just what the motivation behind it is. Maybe that's extended it. But that's what I feel, I don't necessarily want to extend that story. I want to encourage people to stand up for their freedoms, to not back down against a cancel culture. Just because they don't agree with you, like, okay, you don't have to agree with me, but I'm going to say what I want to say. And I think that encouragement and encouraging people to, and maybe opening people's eyes to the Lord, because I just, like you said, that we want to focus on the positive. There's a lot of negative in this world. There's a lot of evil.
Sure.
And
there wouldn't be good. There wouldn't be good if there wasn't evil. We wouldn't know what it looked like, right?
That's right. And that all of that can overcome us. It can bog you down. I mean, even just sitting there on social media every day, it's negative. That can really bog you down. And if you cling to the Lord, and if our country clings to the Lord, that's all going to change. I mean, I'm not saying evil is going to go. Evil will always be there, but we far outnumber it. And God's bigger and stronger than all of this.
Yeah.
So through Him we can accomplish anything. And so what's more positive than that?
That's right. That's exactly right. I think it's a hit right there. So, with a platform like this, I have kids, and the internet is extremely dangerous to kids because it's so hard to, just if you don't want them to have access. Literally, our son, when he was young, figured out that he spends time with his grandparents. We had restrictions on everything. We knew what was going on. We didn't communicate that to the grandparents, and found out that, like, oh man, he figured out how to operate some apps on his grandparents' phones in the back seat of the car when nobody's paying attention and stuff, right? And it's literally like, I told him when he was old enough to understand, I was like, brother, it's like giving you a loaded gun almost. So with platforms like this, first of all, when anything happens, my wife and I like to look at each other and I usually get lost in her eyes. She doesn't get lost in mine anymore. But like, I like to, we ask what good can come of this? Like, what's good in this? And what can we do with this? Because, like, Garth Brooks had a great song when I was a kid that was called Unanswered Prayers, and how just because you play for it you pray for it doesn't mean that that's what's in the big plan, the big scheme of things, right? And what's best,
yeah.
And how some of the greatest gifts come from unexpected, unanswered prayers, right? So when you have a platform like this, first of all, I bet a lot of the folks that sent you things to your house hateful stuff, just like I would say the people that hate on some of the stuff that I see. Guess what? My son follows when he's checking out YouTube. He has a YouTube channel and everything else that we have to monitor it, but he keeps up with what people are saying about Dad.
Mm-hmm.
I bet if people thought about that, they might word it differently or say it differently, or maybe not say it at all if they knew that, hey man, a 12-year-old might read this.
I hope so. I mean, I know my kids were doing the same YouTube searches, that they haven't done that in a while, because I told them to stop.
Yeah.
but it's, yeah, I would hope so. Honestly, I don't have a lot of confidence in that with some of the messages that we received. There's always going to be some that will just be really, really nasty.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, the internet is a dangerous place. It's a negative place too. Yeah, I mean, I hope and pray that people will just would sit back and look at the big picture.
Get to know the individual. They're making they're making a lot of, I wouldn't say accusations. They're forming a lot of opinions based on 3 words that was supposed to be kind of humorous, right? So if a comedian stands up there, they say a lot of things that if you set them in the right, obviously it's all about the platform. They're standing on stage. You go there to hear it. It's kind of going to happen. So when it happens before, but and we say this a lot here too. Like, your feelings aren't truth. They're your feelings, but they're not necessarily the truth, right? So this is a great opportunity for folks to kind of get to know the real Jared Schmeck, and the family guy, the public servant, the local business owner. I mean, they literally, like, that's what the American dream's all about, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, well, what advice moving forward might you have for some of those people? You've said a couple things about just finding the Lord, and I agree with that 100%. Some folks that maybe are, I wouldn't say too emotional about it. Maybe that's the right words. Here I am trying to pick words because it's hard. It's hard to be.
It is.
Because everybody takes words and they run with them. So one of the things that we do, Jared, at our house is when words matter. My wife taught me that a long time ago. I didn't get that for a long time, and being a professional athlete. As I tell a story about my dad. My dad served in the National Guard, I believe, for a little while. When he came back from basic training, his language had changed, because he'd been around a bunch of dudes. It was a lot rougher. And he said, I was sitting at the dinner table with my wife and in-laws, and I dropped the F-bomb and was immediately like, holy crap, I can't believe I did that. Well, I did that too. I took words and I wouldn't say abused them, but I didn't really care about much what they meant. And my wife taught me that. She said, Nick, words matter. So since then, we've taken it even further. Like, when we're working with business owners, we'll say, we'll be talking about marketing. So I was having a big meeting one time, and we had 45, 50 business owners in the same room, and we were talking about marketing, right? Well, it dawned on me that I was like, you know what? Let me ask a few people what marketing means. And I think I asked 10 people. I got 10 different answers. So we were actually talking about 45 to 50 different things and didn't even know it. So we took the time to actually get out the dictionary on the internet and read what the word meant. And then now we had a common ground to have a legitimate conversation, right? Mm-hmm. What advice would you have for folks, knowing that you've been on the receiving end of both good and bad, mm-hmm. of how strong words can be?
It's that's a great question. I mean, when it comes down to it, I don't regret the phone call at all. I don't regret what I feel the same way today, if maybe even more, frankly.
Yeah.
But words are strong. We all have a voice, and so I would just encourage people to use their voices in a way that, I guess, in a way that obviously honors God, in a way that progresses. I guess just don't say something that's not going to create any progression.
You don't get ahead by tearing others down, right?
No, you don't. And so people could argue, well, that's exactly what you did, Jared, on this phone call. Okay, I understand that. I've been told that by multiple people. Completely understand that. I said it in a joking manner. That's what it comes down to. It does match how I feel, 100%. But I can totally understand people saying let's go Brandon to the man himself isn't glorifying God.
Right.
Completely understand that. We're all human. None of us are perfect. I still don't regret saying it. That's going to be between me and the big man when I get up there.
That's it right there. That's it.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, God has used it. And he can take anything. He can take the worst possible thing. He could take what's happening in our country right now and turn it into the most beautiful thing we've ever seen.
That's right.
We have to be focused on him first and foremost. God, family, country. That's in that order. And it's I can understand. Right now we're seeing record numbers of people. I can't remember the number, but record numbers of people that don't even believe in God. And it's sad, it's terrifying, but I understand, because look at the state of our world right now, not just America, our entire world. So I understand the human thought process of that. But as a Christian, you can see God's hands in everything, in this whole thing, and He's taken what I would consider one of the worst periods in our history, and I see Him shaping it, and I think things are going to. And honestly, I mean, this isn't about left and right for me. Obviously, I'm a conservative, and with that, it's my biblical values and principles that guide that, though. That's why I'm a conservative. It's not because that's how I was raised or anything like that. I'm a Christian, and saved by our Lord and Savior, and so that will obviously guide my political decisions as well. And I would encourage all Christians to look at it from that perspective. If we aren't voting as Christians, we can't whine and complain. Period. But you need to not speaking up is the worst thing that you could do. And that's a really good question, because I'm trying to figure out the best way to answer this. But I think when it comes down to using your words, use them. If you don't,
that's right,
then you're just shooting yourself in the foot. You're not furthering the cause. You're not honoring God. You're not going to provide anything positive. You need to use your words. We all say things in the moment. That's really not what this is about. It's about speaking up for what you believe in, no matter what it is, but speaking up for what you believe in, and not backing down against a wall of cancel culture that tries to shut you down.
Well, in the world of sales, imagine if one of the most important thing that you can do in sales is overcome objections that a customer might have, that you believe that this product is best for them, and they're questioning that, right? So imagine if they said something you didn't like and you immediately just tore them down. Well, the transaction would never happen. The business deal would never happen, right? So how do you do that when you disagree with somebody? You rephrase, you restructure what you're doing. You try to get them to understand what it is that you see that they're not getting, right? So what happened with you and your family was, at the end of the day, I believe marketing is just a contest for people's attention, one, and then two, to gain their trust, right? So you got a lot of attention. This was what did you learn about marketing through this and the power of social media marketing? I mean, you're a business guy, right? And you're like, man, I got this platform. You've said it like a lot of times since we've been talking. God gave me a platform here, and what can I do with it to do good? So that's marketing, right? That's marketing.
It is. Yeah, it is. And you're right. Gaining trust is key. I don't expect to gain trust from everyone, because some people are just so hateful. But that's not going to change my course of action. Like I said, the truth is always the truth, and that's what's leading me in all of this. So. It is a lot like marketing. Frankly, if you're not doing marketing from the standpoint of truth and honesty and gaining trust, then you're doing it wrong.
That's right. And it's when you get a platform like that, understanding what it is and how you can use it to further your message and further do good. The people that go on my stuff and say some really ugly things about a 60-second clip where I might have said they accuse me of all kinds of stuff, that I'm, sitting high on my pedestal, and, the rich people telling you what to do and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's literally, they don't even know me. And there, I promise you, there's not a ill bone in my body for really anybody out there. I want everybody to be successful and just see what the gifts that I've been able to experience and see and change the evolution of oneself. I wasn't a great person. I've talked about that many times, that my wife is a superhero that just doesn't wear a cape, not because of all the stuff that she accomplishes at work and at home, but because she put up with my ass for, that I was, after baseball, dude, I'd been a baseball player my whole life, and all of a sudden I wasn't going to do it anymore. I was 27 years old, and it's like, well, who the heck am I? And that came with a lot of angst and insecurity, and I was one of those people that would almost want to bring people down to my level, not bring them up to my level, bring them down to my level where I was at that time. And it took me almost a decade to figure out who I was. I'm still figuring it out, but figure out who I was, who I wanted to be, how I wanted to do it. And that, like, by building somebody up isn't, when you bring somebody down, it's insecurity, man. It's all insecurity, and you're never going to be told or criticized by somebody that's doing more than you, So the more people that I build up, the higher I rise. The more people that are around me that are successful, the higher I rise. So it comes with a lot of responsibility. The social media is very powerful.
It is.
It's very powerful.
It is.
And you can reach a lot of folks with just a click of a mouse, and you can be extremely tough too on the other side of that screen, because I bet a lot of the stuff that was said to you or sent to you wouldn't have been said to your face.
Oh, I guarantee it. I 100% guarantee it. And I know that, which is why I really didn't pay any of it any mind. Outside of, obviously I didn't want my kids to be afraid, but and our business to suffer, but it's not worth conversing with someone who is just spewing hate. And when they're threatening to kill your kids, I'm not going to even. I didn't hear the phone call. I didn't hear your voicemail. It's not going to affect me because it's not important. What's important is what we're going towards here.
Absolutely.
And so. Yeah, it is powerful. And I guess that would be another word of encouragement, having my eyes open to what social media is like now, is just don't let people like that get to you. Stick to your beliefs, stick to what you're doing. And it's crazy to me that you've received hate, and you might receive hate for having me on, just for having me on.
Totally.
But,
it's a story, man, from just a public servant, a father, a business owner. Like, that sounds. We have a lot in common in those things.
Yeah.
We sure do. And let me tell you something else too. As a professional athlete, if you go to Yankee Stadium, what gets yelled at these athletes on the field, if it was said out in the middle of the street, it would be considered a threat, and all kinds of stuff would happen. Literally, this is a true story. This is funny. I don't tell many baseball stories on here. So we're in, it was 2003. It was my first professional season, and we had gone to St. Louis, playing at Gateway Park in St. Louis, beautiful stadium. And it was my first professional start. And it just so happens that my dad and the girlfriend that I had in college were at the game. And they first of all, they misspelled my name. I believe it was on purpose. They did it all the time. My name's Hiter, Hiter. They would put an L in there. They would put an L in there, and it would say Hitler on there, right? So I get that a lot. And but so that, as soon as that went up there, my dad was laughing because he gets it. The girl was she was appalled by all the stuff. So they made me. They knew it was my first game. I'm the guy that if you strike out, everybody gets free beer. Right, so we're the visiting team, so you can't imagine. And I remember it was a smaller stadium. It was like 5,000 people maybe. It felt like they were on top of me, and I heard every dang thing that they said, and they called me the worst stuff that you can think of. Thank God I didn't strike out. You know what I mean? I did not give them what they wanted, but I was scared to death, dude. I heard everything. I wasn't prepared. I was 23 years old, had never experienced anything like that, and it did. It affected me, and it took me a while. So there's this thing called the yips in professional sports, and it's like you've seen some guys have it where all of a sudden they'll take a guy that made it to the big leagues that all of a sudden he can't throw it from second base to first base, or from the catcher to throw it back to the pitcher. I remember when I was throwing the ball back to the pitcher, it was like, oh my, I was so nervous to just throw it back to the pitcher, something that I could do with my eyes closed every other time, all because 5,000 people had an opinion, and not all 5,000 people had the opinion. I heard what I heard. I didn't hear everything. I didn't hear the good. Right. So, it's crazy how, we're going to a Yankees game this weekend. There's going to be, it's madness, dude. It's awesome. It's totally awesome. But it's left on the field, right?
Yep.
Yep. So let's see here, man. I was so excited to have you on just because it's such a cool story. How old are your kids now?
12. Griffin's 12. Hunter is 9. Piper is 4. Actually, yeah, she turns 5 on Wednesday, and Penelope is 2.
Wow. So I've got a 13-year-old and a 1-year-old.
Nice.
Yeah, man.
That's awesome.
It is. It's fantastic. And the 13-year-old, we spend all week long just driving him places to all the places he's got to go. I've never been so happy to be a chauffeur as I am to be Ethan's chauffeur. And then the baby Ansley, she's going to be something else. I'll be driving her around as long as she gets whatever she wants, man. You know what I mean? So what's the difference between daughters and sons for you?
Oh, it's the daughters get whatever they want. That's exactly. I'm definitely a lot harder on my boys than I am on the daughters. They're just, I'm glad we had the sons first because it's 2 boys and then 2 girls. They just melt you in a way. I mean, I can't even describe it.
Yep.
It's God. It's the wonder of God.
That's right. And It's like when you look at him, you're just like, that's my lifelong best friend right there, man.
Yep.
It's something else. There's here's the finger that she's wrapped around right here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And you'd do anything for them, and that's why this is so important.
And she points her little finger at me, and and that's the finger I'm wrapped around, right? That's how it works.
That's right.
That's how it works. Well, brother, I'm so excited I was so excited to have you on. It's such like I say, it's literally a story that's one of a kind. Are you guys going to be doing, like we do the NORAD stuff? Never called in. Are you guys still going to be doing that this year?
Yeah, we'll call in if they take calls.
That's right.
So we'll see how it goes. I don't think he's going to be taking calls though.
Well, that was probably if they had it to do all over again, they might have. Even when they do live broadcast, there's a delay on stuff just in case, right?
There was a delay.
Oh my goodness.
They didn't catch it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Man. Well, that's crazy.
Yep.
That's crazy, dude. Talk to me about this real quick. What's the so you guys' business? What's the future of you guys' business as far as growth, scaling, anything like that?
So the sky's the limit. We're looking at other opportunities in neighboring cities. We do have an office over in Central Point, Oregon, which is about an hour and a half from here. And being an IBW contractor does give you the capability of picking up manpower anywhere that you're licensed. So we're looking at other states as well. Whether or not my wife and I stay in Oregon, we've discussed maybe going elsewhere prior to this phone call. Phone call has nothing to do with it. And so we may, if the Lord leads us that way and gives us the opportunity. As I have an entrepreneur mindset, so I'm always looking for ways to grow. It's not just about the financial freedom that offers, but I really love watching the team grow and the team having pride and ownership in what we do as a company and the mission that we have as a company. And so that to me is at the end of the day what drives and I'd say the same thing for my parents, what drives us forward. So that really, honestly, the sky's the limit. Whatever the Lord has for us, we are open to it.
Well, I can definitely tell that in you guys' house, there's an attitude of gratitude. You could totally focus on the negative that came from the last year of your life, but you guys are focused on the gratefulness of everything and the opportunities that have come your way from this, because they come in all shapes and sizes and from the worst things, so and the best things at that same time. So is there any final thoughts that you would have for the folks today?
Any final thoughts? Well, I don't want to get you in trouble, but let's go, Brandon.
Oh man, we had to do it. We had to do it just because it's like I don't know. It's if you went to see Elvis sing, you'd have to see him sing, right? So, but that was a great movie, by the way. Oh my goodness, that was a fantastic.
I heard it was
movie.
good. I need to see it.
You do. My son's a musician, and they did a great job with it, in my opinion. And the guy that played Elvis was just spectacular.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and Tom Hanks is he's he's in it too. Everything's good. I mean, he's just such a great, talented actor. It was just in the makeup. It was just really neat, dude. It was a good movie. We watched it when we were on vacation. Everybody loved it. So, well, brother, man, like, God bless you guys and everything you got going on. I look forward to keeping up with you and watching everything grow. I didn't even get this, folks. How old are you?
I am 36 now.
36.
36. Yes,
brother.
Sir.
Well, you got the world by the balls, man, because like helping run a 50-year-old business at the age of 36. The business is older than you are. That's crazy.
It is.
Wow.
Yep.
Well, congratulations. And another thing, fun little business fact, like I'm not 100%, don't quote me on the percentage, but like 85% or so of second generation businesses fail. And that's usually just because what the principles that were important to the first generation aren't always what's important to the second generation. And that's rightfully so. Right. So, the family businesses, that's why a lot of times they get sold, or sold or torn apart in the second and third generation, just because that's not what the kids want to do. So congratulations to you and your family on 50 years of success and everything else. And Godspeed to you guys in the future for further success, man.
Hey, thank you. God bless you. And I really appreciate you having me on.
Awesome. Well, folks, thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of The Hit Streak. I am your man, Nick Hyder. God bless.